I live on an island. No, literally. I live on an island inside a gated community. And that gated community has security guards. And we don't need security guards because we live on an island. And this island also is gated. And there is no crime that occurs on this island, really, other than drunken, disorderly conduct on the beaches. But for the most part, especially for my little community, we don't need security guards. But we have security guards. And these security guards have no reason to work. There's no reason. They're not doing anything important in terms of security. And in fact, one time, my house, I thought, was getting broken into. And so I called the security guards, and they couldn't even help me. They told me to call the police. So what is their purpose? I don't know. They have no purpose. And these security guards truly act like they have no purpose. They don't take their job seriously. They don't. And they rotate a lot. There's a whole lot of security guards that come and go. And you get to know them because they have to let you into the community. And what tends to occur is they just let anyone go in, and they don't really check anything as long as you have the right credentials, the right little decal on your dashboard. And that's kind of annoying, first of all, because there's 3 gates that let you in, and all these 3 gates converge into one road. And sometimes if they just let anyone in willy-nilly, you can kind of get blindsided from the gate on the right-hand side. And it's dangerous, kind of scary. Sometimes people honk at you, and there's always Porsches that are trying to blow by you on the right-hand lane. And it's irritating. But the security guards don't take their job seriously because there's no reason to take their job seriously. But then there's this other security guard, this one other security guard, who is fascinating. He fascinates my friends, he fascinates my family, and he fascinates me too. Because this security guard takes his job very seriously. He stops everyone at the gate with a big stop sign. Says, "Stop!" And then he looks at you, and he waits 3 seconds, and then he gives you the go-ahead hand and opens the gate. And all of my friends and family, they always talk about this guy. They're like, "What's the deal with that security guard? He wouldn't let me in. I was just waiting there and waiting there." And every time somebody tells me that, I laugh a little bit because I had way more time and way more experience with this particular security guard. And I just think to myself, it's like, well, you're mad at this guy for doing his job, first of all, which is just not a great perspective to look at that, or to look at what he's doing. But more importantly, I found it amazing that it's been 2 years since I've lived here now, and he still takes his job extremely seriously, as I've seen every other security guard become derelict in his duties. And ultimately, they tend to just leave after a while, and then new security guards show up. And these new security guards are just as terrible as the previous ones. So I wanted to know what the deal was with this guy. What's the deal with this security guard, this particular one? And so one day, on a cold February night, I drove my car and I saw that he was going to be my gatekeeper for that moment. And so I pulled up to his little shack, his little shed, and I rolled my window down. And I said, "Excuse me, sir, what motivates you?" And he looked at me and he was like, "What?" And I said, "What motivates you?" And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, "I just like to look at the people's faces when I stop them." That was his reason for stopping everybody. It wasn't for security purposes because there was no reason to have security guards. He simply stopped people because everyone gives him this sort of face when they get stopped. Like, "What are you doing?" And he thinks it's funny. That was his reason. And so the point of me telling this elaborate story is to point out the fact that you need a reason why you're doing what you do. You have to start with why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Anyone can point out the fact that whatever you're doing in your life is ultimately pointless, is meaningless. "Oh, we're just trying to get money, but money has no real value," or, "Why am I doing all this work for this job and they're not respecting me," or any of these other reasons why I don't have to take my life seriously or whatever. Well, you can go down that road. We could go down that path and look at it objectively and say, well, is thinking that your life lacks value or lacks seriousness or lacks purpose, and we follow down that road and just say, well, we're just going to stick with thinking that way and just assuming that everything that we do has no reason behind it? And when we follow down that path, we realize that that's just not an enjoyable life to live. Or we can just select our own reason why, our own reason for doing what we do, for taking our job seriously. Because it doesn't have to be logical. If the security guard made anything more clear, it's the fact that it doesn't have to be logical. All you need is a reason, just any reason. Select a reason and say, this is my reason why I'm going to take my work seriously. Doesn't have to be logical, but you do need a reason. And so we always start with why, and then we move on from there, and then we can reassess the why later. But you need a why first and foremost, or you'll get lost. You'll lose your reason for doing the work, for putting in the time and effort. And remember, it can be anything that you want. It doesn't have to be logical, but you need to start somewhere. You need to start with your why. And so that's what I asked you to do for today. Find out your why, point it out, and then move on and get to working. And have a great day, everyone.